And you need to understand how business sees itself, and you also need to know what they know. How are they thinking about the problem? Because a lot of the time, the primary means for understanding a KPI is perhaps a year-on-year comparison. I know we're going to come back to this one quite a lot.
Yeah.
And immediately we want to see the trend, right? And so, is there a trended version? Can you just show me on your dashboard where you drill down to the trend? If the answer is no, you're already like, right, okay, we need the trend, right? And it's like, don't pass go. We're going to have to get that. We need to get it soon because we can't tell anything from this. There's so much implicit business understanding in a simple year-on-year comparison that is just completely opaque to anyone who's not very close to that. It rarely takes us long to want to scratch below the surface, but it's really worth spending that time understanding and questioning the business users and understanding why they see what they see. Well, why is it this view? Did you ask for this view? What about this? What on here is the things you always look at? What do you always ignore, and why? And how does this then relate to the problem that you presented us?
Yeah. And that view thing, I mean, it's just like, getting the camera in, and and obviously this is what dashboards are for, right? To an extent, because you're trying to get rid of the noise. I don't want to see all the data. I just need to see this bit. So somebody's designing it and presenting it, and that's exactly what I want. But of course, that's also excluding a whole bunch of things. You're just not seeing everything else. And again, dashboards are there to come back to you, looking at them every week, every month, and you design them for one thing, and then 6 months later things have moved on, business has moved on, and so that zooming out, getting that context is definitely something that we do. I mean, it's fresh eyes on the problem, right?
Yeah, I think I see dashboards and those types of reports, this backwards looking stuff, is very much, I term it contract fulfillment, because you have a contract with your board, your CEO, your investors, your manager, and that is that you're going to make us this many $1 million, this many sales or whatever. And so what's your dashboard for? Well, it should tell you whether or not you're going to fulfill that contract that you've made. And it performs a vital role because you and me can both see this number. We've both agreed that's the number we're going to measure against, and it's a form of communication between one person and another, almost like an email or anything. It's just another way of transmitting information. Quite frankly, if you were working for me and I said to you, why are we down 10% year on year, and you didn't know that we were down 10% year on year without even looking at the chart, then we got a lot of trouble, right? I very much doubt most good managers and leaders rely on their dashboard to tell them what's going on. I think they know what's going on. The dashboard helps them quantify and helps them validate their view. And so it's just saying, well, we've got this number, right, and that we can all agree on, and that's what we'll report. But it's not generating insight. It's just generating information. And I think it's a really important distinction. And often, if you want to understand why you're in the position you're in, then you get these drill downs that are created within these dashboards or extra reports. This one looks at productivity, this one's looking at staff churn, this one's looking at customer churn, this one's looking at sales. Okay, so you've got a bit of drill down there, but often any things you need to investigate are buried a bit deeper. You have to ask some slightly more complex questions. Well, some people will have a report related to some particular aspect of that, and that's gone into a dashboard or into a report, but they already solved that problem. That problem isn't the problem we've got now.
Yeah.
So that report is redundant. So the current set of questions is being answered. And as you point out, it's because the business has moved on. It's because when you've got a problem that's big enough to sort of stick on a dashboard, chances are you've got a lot of eyes on fixing it. So that report had a fairly short shelf life. And so this idea that you could create a dashboard or create a suite of reports that are static is nonsensical. You need to constantly refresh and update that. And the chances of you having in your little tool, your toolkit of reports, the exact report that you need to diagnose this problem are quite low. Because if it's a problem, then people haven't noticed it. They don't know what it is yet. They don't know what's causing it. And therefore, the idea that someone had just randomly decided to create a report that would illustrate that problem, well, they haven't. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
And that's where you need help from an analytical perspective, to look at what you've got, triangulate, understand what's missing, and go to that next level down and go and find out what's really going on.